North Korea, which was previously a territory that was primarily farmers and factory workers, has become a reclusive state that possesses nuclear weapons. It has been accused time and time again of violating human rights and recently has been accused of owning death camps. But how did a small country such as North Korea become the center of most of our media? In order to find that out, we need to backtrack all the way to 1910 when the Japanese Empire took over the small peninsula. At this time, Korea was completely farms and some small villages, so there was small resistance. After the Second World War, all of Japan's territories were confiscated and re-established as democratic countries. This was fine up until 1948, when tensions started to grow between the guerrilla communist North and the peaceful democratic South. On the 25th of June 1950, the North Koreans, backed by Chinese and Russian support, launched an attack on the primarily farming province of South Korea. By August, the North Koreans had invaded, pillaged, and overtaken every South Korean village up until the Pusan perimeter, which is located right here. This is when the United States, backed by UN nations, launched an amphibious attack on the Pusan perimeter, and it almost pushed the North Koreans completely out, but in October, the Chinese crossed the Yalu River and entered the war. This pushed back the UN allies back to the 38th parallel, or what is more primarily known as the DMZ. Over the next 2 years, the fighting forces stood still, and eventually, in 1953, signing an armistice. This is when the DMZ was officially bordered and guarded. Over the next 38 years, between 1953 and 1991, the North Koreans would go through economic booms and hardships. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991, this triggered the North Koreans' foreign trade to drop 50% of its previous state. In 1994, Kim Il-sung died from a sudden heart attack and was quickly replaced by his son Kim Jong-il. This new leader was much more isolated than his father. He drove his people farther and farther away from Western society and heavily focused on portraying communism as the only way to his people. On October 9, 2006, North Korea announced it successfully tested an underground nuke, which was picked up and confirmed by seismic readers in both South Korea and Japan. As you can guess, a lot of countries didn't want North Korea to have nuclear weapons, so they placed very hard sanctions on the easily provoked nation. On December 17, 2011, Kim Jong-il died and was succeeded by his son, Kim Jong-un, who is a lot more open to Western society and has even granted tourism from other countries. In 2014, the UN conducted an investigation into allegations that North Korea was violating human rights. This was found to be true, and even harder sanctions were placed on North Korea. So here we are now. North Korea has tested 7 confirmed nuclear weapons within the past decade, and that number seems to keep on rising. It's just a matter of time until they are provoked enough to put their missiles into a real-life scenario.